presenting the Practice Pulse, a podcast production of the State Bar of Wisconsin, helping to make your law practice work for you and not the other way around.
Welcome, everybody, to a special episode of the Practice Pulse podcast. I am Brent Hoeft, Practice Management Advisor at the State Bar of Wisconsin. I'm very excited to talk to you about the topic for this episode, the Wisconsin Solo Small Firm Conference. It's something that's very near and dear to my heart. I have been involved for many years, well before coming to the State Bar. I got started first as a speaker at the Wisconsin Solo Small Firm Conference. I then started on the planning committee and have been part of that ever since, and continuing on that planning committee on the technology track, which I am co-chair with Nerino Petro, who has been involved since the beginning. So I am very happy to bring to you two guests today. They're going to talk to you about their experience with the Solo Small Firm Conference, also a little bit about the Solo and Small Firm General Practice section. And I hope you enjoy the information. I hope to see you there, and let's dive into it. Hi, Erin. Thank you for joining me on the Practice Pulse, this special episode we're doing on the Practice Pulse, focusing on Wisconsin's Solo Small Firm Conference this year. Just to start off, tell me a little bit about yourself, a little bit about how you got involved with the conference and how you got involved with the planning committee.
Yes. So I'm Erin Ogden, managing attorney of Ogden, Glazer, and Schaefer. And I got involved pretty much, we started the firm in 2016, and I started going to the conference kind of immediately. I'd been tangentially involved at a previous firm, and I was like, this seems like a good thing. And I went, and it proved to be true. And then at one of the early ones, they had a session that said, hey, if you want to be involved in the planning of this, come here. And I was looking at ways to be more involved in the conference and more involved in the State Bar. And I'm always a big believer of, if you want something to be what you want, be involved, right? Be involved in the planning.
Yeah.
And so I went there and signed up and got involved first on the advisory committees. So I was just in the practice management track advisory committee. So I got to start seeing how this thing worked, start being able to talk about what I wanted to see, what I wanted to hear and learn at the conference, which was really nice because I got to see immediate kind of returns on my work. Apparently I had good ideas because they kept asking me then to like, hey, do you want to actually be a track chair? And then apparently I have a problem saying no because I said yes. And they're like, hey, do you want to be, on the planning committee? Oh, yeah. And so now I'm here on the chair, and I'm kind of concerned what the next yes is going to be.
Yeah. So what does like being chair mean? Like in terms of the planning committee and kind of just the makeup, like how does this thing come to be each year?
Yeah. So being the chair, honestly, there's a lot of people that say like leadership thing is find great people and then get out of their way. And that's more or less what we try and do, is find really good advisory chairs, and advisory committees, and then help them when they ask for it to do more. So like they are the ones who really come up with the great ideas, and they're the ones that come up with what do we do. And then we look at it and we say, these, like every time we're like, oh my God, these are great ideas. How do we pick? And then interestingly, every time I've been on, both as a track chair and on the exec, is you see themes. You're like, ooh, more than one person had this idea. And we look and we say, okay, is this theme truly different attacks and we should have two different ones? Or can we find a way to combine it so we can get even? Because there's always so many good ideas that there's trade-offs, right? Like if we have two with the same general idea, that means we're not getting something else that's also really good there. But if we combine the two, then we're missing some nuance. And so there's always good discussion about which one it is and where do we combine, where do we not. Like this year, we have a lot of AI stuff, but we thought each of them were taking different attacks at the issue. And so we thought that was important because different people are at different stages of their journey with AI. And so we wanted to have different viewpoints, but we thought it was important because we get a lot of questions about that. Whereas maybe a different thing, we were like, well, if we do all these AI, then we miss on other stuff. But if we take, 5 other things on a topic that's also really important, like mental health, then we lose AI. So can we maybe combine, hey, can we talk about AI in a way that discusses mental health or things like that, and go back to the track chairs and have them think about it too in case we missed something. And then often they even know the speakers, but every once in a while they're like, we came up with this really good topic. Does anyone know anyone? And then we're like,
Sure.
yes, actually, I do.
Yeah. That's the thing that I enjoy about it, that it really is truly takes a village. And, sometimes we have really great ideas on the committee, but but I don't know who that person is. Like, who's
Right.
that expert that we can reach out to? And then as Sarah frequently calls us, she reaches out to the brain trust, and like collectively, it seems like there's always someone like, yep, I know a person to reach out to. Let's
Right. It's
reach
amazing.
out to them. Yeah.
And I think as been an advisory board member and a track chair in the past, I've had it where like, oh, I can't believe they didn't take this idea. This was golden. And then you see the whole thing and you're like, oh, I see why they didn't. Or sometimes I'm still like, they totally should have taken my idea.
Yeah.
But then you hear other people at the conference are like, oh, I really love, these other sessions. And you're like, I guess they were right.
Yeah. So you said when you started out with the conference, it was as an attendee, and then you came back after. What made you come back? What's special about Solo Small Firm?
Sure. It's the people. I know that sounds cliche, but it really is. Think with solo and small firms, you need to build that kind of that village, that network, because at a big firm, you have somebody down the hall that has that expertise in election law or public defender or whatever. At small firm, oftentimes there is no hall, right? There is no down the hall. And so what do you do when you come across that issue? Either to be able to refer it out or say, hey, can I bounce this idea off you? I always say the line of, am I being crazy or are they being crazy? You need that sounding board, and you can build those connections. And you can build those connections across the state. So when you have that client that's like, hey, do you happen to know anybody in Ashland? My kid was in school there.
Yeah.
And you're like, it's really, see that warm, fuzzy feeling when you can say, I do know a person up there. Give me a minute. Or I know a person who will know a person. Give me a minute.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's we focus on, I feel like, obviously the planning side of it is very heavily on the education side, like planning the education side. But as you said, it's more than that, like especially with this conference. I mean, all conferences, it's also social, also networking. But I think, as you stated, with solo and smalls, like that's very important aspect of it. And
I'm not going to lie, it's nice at the end of each reporting year to not wonder, did I hit my CLEs? If you go to the solo and small firm, it's all there. I have my ethics, I have my CLEs, I can choose if I want to do LPM or LAUs or the new reduction to bias ones. I can choose to do those, but I know that I will have all my CLE by just going to the conference. Yes, there are lots of other options at the state bar, but those can be because I want to learn about them, not have that moment of like, do I have them? Is there enough?
Right.
Where do I fit them in? That those last few weeks before the reporting period ends, and you're like, do I have my ethics? Like, I do.
Yeah.
I know it, and they were fun.
Yeah. And I feel like we see so many familiar faces that, there are those that every single year we know who we're going to see there. And I think, that's a fun aspect of it as well.
Yep.
But I think it also shows like it's that time for solo and small firms to kind of take a step away from the actual like day-to-day practice of law and maybe start focusing on those things you so easily push to the back burner as lawyers become busy. Every day we have intentions of getting things done, and usually 5% of that happens. But so it's that time that you can actually set aside, that you can bounce ideas off of other solo and small firm attorneys. And they, people that have done it for a long time, are there, people who are brand new are there. You get
Yeah.
all this, it runs the gambit of
And
experience levels. So I
you get
think
a
that is
lot of good
really
ideas.
cool.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you get a lot of good ideas because you have people who've been there doing it forever. David Kreckler's been doing it forever, but is always thinking about new stuff. And you say, "Oh, have you
Yep.
thought about that?" But you also have the energy of new people
Yeah.
who are coming up with, Fatima is speaking, and she's got just this ability to do AI that I can only
Hmm.
dream of. And you can be like, tell me more
Yeah.
about like
Yeah.
how you actually make this work for you. 'Cause every time I'm trying to sit down and prompt, I just feel like I'm fighting it. Um, and so you get this good mix of new and practiced ones that you can, no
Uh-huh.
matter what, you can kind of find a conversation for what you need. And then you always come back and you have to prioritize. You're like, I have lots of great ideas. Okay,
Right.
which ones can I actually do? And then
Yeah.
and then if you go after year, it's kind of nice because by the end of next year, you can track like, how did I do
Hmm.
on it? And because you are seeing some of the same people, you can build some accountability partners if that's your thing. And be like,
Yeah.
check on me next year on how we're going to do this.
Yeah, that's a very good point. Absolutely. So specifically about this year's conference, what do you see as exciting, a little bit different, both from the educational standpoint and also from the social networking side of things? What do we have going on?
So, like I said, there's a lot of AI stuff, but there's a lot of other stuff. I've been to a couple legal conferences where it feels like it's all AI, and it's
Hmm.
important and it's a thing, but also it's not everything. Right? There are
Yeah.
some people that are really into it, but it's not everything. It's not taking over the world yet. Um, and so there's lots of good stuff in there. The ethics and quality of life one have a lot about communication and about mental health and um, being like designed to work with humans, both, believe it or not, attorneys are humans and our clients are
Hmm.
too, and how to deal with the good and bad of that and communicate like that. I think there's really great stuff there. We actually have two attorneys who are therapists or therapists who have JDs, depending on how you look at it,
Hmm.
that are on that planning committee this year. So they are really thinking about it from both angles, which I think is amazing. Another thing I'm really excited about this year is maybe a funny thing to think, but we've listened to a lot of our people. And a lot of people are realizing that just how much addiction is an issue in the legal world. We all know it. We all
Hmm.
got that lecture the first day of law school, right? But I think the past 5 years have been hard for a lot of people, and it really came to a head. And so one of the things that we're doing is a kind of a recovery session, or a session where during a happy hour, we still have kind of an event that people can go to that are recovering from addiction and who don't
Hmm.
feel that they can be in that setting. There are many who are recovering that can. There are many that can't. And we don't want to make them feel left out.
Yeah.
And so finding a welcoming space where they can also find that community, also can be it, and not feel like they have to, like, oh, guess it's time to go to my room now. So
Yeah.
finding ways to build that, also finding ways to have some family fun that maybe isn't bowling.
Hmm.
We've done a lot of bowling in
Hmm.
the past. We're looking at something else because bowling isn't everybody's cup of tea. So we're trying to see if maybe
Hmm.
some other stuff is.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think what you just said, it goes to that your conference, your community, the kind
Mhm.
of tagline of the conference. And this kind of conference, because of all the tracks, because of all the options with social events and networking, I feel like it's your conference. You can
Right.
build your own conference the way you want it to, focus on the things you want it to, and also network the way
Yep.
you want to. We also, you mentioned, we kind of have in the past had the bowling, a big gathering like that. We're going to do some different things this year, but we also have the dine rounds, which is a much
I
more like
love the diner
small,
out.
intimate event. So I think that's part of it as well. Like you can truly build your own conference, which I think is really cool.
The dine-arounds are super fun because it's a way to either stay on site or get off site if you're a person who needs change of venue a little bit, that you get to meet and have conversations with other lawyers that maybe isn't about the
Hmm.
CLE that you just attended.
Yeah.
Um, and over in dinner, right? And I think that so many great relationships are made and are deepened over food. And
Yeah.
so, and you'll see people that some of them, they go like that same dining around every year. And you can and it's a way to build that relationship. You have other ones that pop around. I think I'm doing one at the House of Embers on
Yeah.
one of them. So if you want to have dinner with me, sign up for the House of Embers. If you want to avoid having dinner with me, sign up for one of the other ones.
Yeah, that's great. I enjoy those too. It's a fun time to actually sit down and have that time with a relatively small group. It's usually, 15, 20 people tops, and that you're able to kind of really get to know each other, and
Mhm.
also, have that mix of the social aspects of, the human being side of attorneys and the practice side. All those topics come up. Yeah, I agree. That's a lot of fun. Anything with the plenaries that you're specifically looking forward to?
One of the things I always look forward to is what they come up with, because it always seems to have a unique spin.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things, I think that it was the first for last year, and they had such good feedback, because we do listen to feedback. Please fill out the cards. I'm
Yes.
telling this now because a lot of these things came from the feedback. Was the panel where they do 15 seconds of an expert,
Mm-hmm.
or
Mm-hmm.
15 minutes, not 15 seconds, but and
Mm-hmm.
so it's just enough to get a taster. But what I like about it is it's not enough to actually be able to practice the thing, but it's enough to be I need to talk to that person more.
Yeah.
So you can go to one of those things that's community, later when you're at the happy hour, or there's a lot of time in the vendor area where you can be like, hey, I saw you talk about this. Tell me more. Either
Yeah.
because I get a lot of questions about that, or I want to learn more about this area, or I so don't want to learn more about this area. I just want to have a go-to, and tell me more about how that works. I think so. That one was fun last year. I think this year they have a good lineup for it. Saturday, also last year, was all plenary. We didn't do
Mm-hmm.
breakouts. And I think
Mm-hmm.
that went really well, because then you still get the energy of people in the room. And they had such a good lineup. And again, this year, of course, finishing with ethics, because we always want to make sure people stick around a little bit. But they always
Yep.
have fun ones that make it worth sticking around.
Absolutely.
So
Yeah.
how you can make ethics fun, people who can do it deserve a special place on your trophy shelf, and somehow the plenary session keeps finding them. So
Yeah.
I'm excited that I don't have to figure that out, because I think that would stretch my digital Rolodex a little.
Absolutely. Oh, I completely agree. And I think, once again, it's going to be a very fun conference. I think there's a lot of varied topics that you really build your own conference and find those interests. There's something for everyone. And
For sure.
more often than not, it's not the searching for, what one should I do? It's how can I go to all of these? I always hear members
Right.
saying that, it's like, I want to go to all 3 out of 4 of these right now. How do I do that? So,
And there is some recording that we do. I know that
yeah.
State Bar does a lot where they'll record stuff. So I've done that where I'm like, okay, which one's recorded that I can go and watch
Mm-hmm.
later? And which one is my only chances now? Or which one
Yeah.
do I know I have questions that I want to be able to ask
Mm-hmm.
the person there? And that's how I'll pick. And knowing if I can register and get those recordings later,
Mm-hmm.
that
Yep.
helps reduce my anxiety, a little bit of that decision fatigue of which one? I'm like, okay, which one
Yeah.
do I have a choice? Okay,
Yep.
let's make that one.
Absolutely. That's a great point, and good reminder that those replays do come out pretty soon after the conference. So you're able to watch that not long after you return home from the conference. Well, I hope that that everybody gets excited. I hope we see you in the Dells. And if you've never been to the conference, we hope this is your first year. Come try it out. I don't think you'll be disappointed. I've never heard anyone say they were disappointed and trying it out, and it's likely you'll be back for more, just like Erin was, and maybe even more, and then more, and then more,
You'll
right?
see the whole OGS crew there. We bring the whole firm because I think it's such an important connection piece, and also
Yeah.
a team building for this small firms. And so even our paralegals and legal project managers. So if you want to learn more about legal project manager, Lathina is going to be there, and can tell you how to whip a bunch of attorneys into shape.
That's great. That's quite the task.
I don't know how she does it, but she manages to keep her cats herded.
Oh, that's great. Well, Erin, I appreciate your time. I look forward to seeing you and hanging out at the conference, and we will talk to you soon.
Sounds good. See you then, Brent.
All right. All right. Take care, Erin.
Would you like to implement new efficiencies into your law practice but don't know where to begin? Practice 411, the State Bar of Wisconsin's Law Office Management Assistance Program, is the place to start. Don't wait. Contact Practice 411 today for a complimentary and confidential consultation at 1-800-957-4670. Thank you, and now back to the Practice Pulse podcast.
Okay, everybody, welcome back to this special episode of the Practice Pulse podcast. My next guest is Eliza Reyes, the current chair of the Solo Small Firm General Practice section. Eliza, welcome, and please tell the listeners a little bit about yourself.
Hey, Brent, thank you so much for having me here this afternoon. Super excited to talk about the section. As Brent said, my name is Eliza Reyes. I am an attorney with the law firm of Richmond and Richmond here in Madison. We are a small firm, and we're basically a bankruptcy boutique firm, even though we do a lot of other things like state court litigation. We deal with a lot of financial matters, and I am the current chair of the Solo Small Firm General Practice section.
That's great. How did you get involved with the section to begin with?
Well, that's actually an interesting story. I got involved with the section going back to 2017 when I was practicing with David Kreckler at the time, who's been a past chair of the section. And he basically asked me if I wanted to get involved with planning the Wisconsin Solo Small Firm Conference. So I started as one of the advisors on the substantive track panel way back in 2017, worked with some really great people who were the track chairs and folks on the planning committee. And I just got hooked. I'm like, this is a great section. I became a member at that time and really hadn't done much with the section. I had never even attended the conference. And so 2017, when I got involved with substantive track, is the first time I attended the conference. And I just thought it was fantastic. So that's how I initially got involved with the section. And then in 2020, a sitting board member ended up quitting or resigning her board seat in the middle of her term because she was going to go be doing something else or was going to be involved in another committee, and sought me out to see if I had been interested in filling out a partial term. And of course I was, and I got voted on. And so the interesting thing about that is I joined the section in March of 2020. Guess what that was right before the pandemic.
Yeah.
So it was really interesting to join the section at that time as a board member when the section ended up having to scrap so many of our plans because of, the situation with the pandemic.
Yeah, well, that's fascinating. But also probably a very interesting time because obviously, all attorneys were affected by the pandemic, and solo small firms, everybody was trying to figure it out, like how to figure it out. And I imagine that network of the section, able to help each other out and share ideas and try to figure out how to survive all of that.
It really was because, as you remember, Brent, the first few weeks before the pandemic, when the pandemic first hit, courts didn't know what they were going to do. Nobody knew how hearings were going to be held. At first, everything was just being suspended. So it was kind of nice for practitioners to sort of have a network where some folks were kind of watching the court websites to see what courts were going to do with hearings. Those of us, there were a couple other bankruptcy practitioners on the section board at the time. So we were watching the bankruptcy courts and the federal courts about how 341 meeting of creditors and hearings and things were going to get handled. And it was a nice way to keep everybody informed about things that were happening that, it was such a strange time and nobody really knew how courts were going to handle things.
Yeah. So you mentioned, that some of the things that the section usually does had to be suspended during that time. What are the things that the section does on an annual basis?
Well, the big one is, of course, the section is a sponsor of and really co-plans with State Bar, the State Bar Pinnacle, the Wisconsin Solo Small Firm Conference, which is an annual 2.5-day conference It takes place in October. This year, the dates are the 16th, 17th, and 18th. I think I have those dates correctly. We've held it at the Kalahari Resort in Wisconsin Dells for several years. And it's a fantastic conference because not only are there plenary sessions, but there are tracks that promote things like technology, practice management. We have a substantive track, which provides CLE for substantive areas of law. And of course, if you need those ethics credits, there's a whole track just devoted to ethics credits. And really, the great thing about it, it provides an opportunity for practitioners. And I'm not just talking solo small firm practitioners, all practitioners to get together, get CLE, network, meet up with people you haven't seen in a number of years. There are social opportunities, and it's also at the Kalahari. Got little kids who like water parks, bring them along. So, and the one great thing, and I think I said this before, it's called the Solo Small Firm Conference, but that's kind of a little bit of a misleading title because really this conference is for any practitioner. Large firm practitioners who get a lot out of this. If you're a government attorney, if you're in-house somewhere, it provides all of these kinds of resources for really any type of practitioner.
Yeah, that's a great point. I always like to say how, because we have the 4 tracks to the conference, you can really build your own conference. So if you are a solo and small firm attorney and maybe your focus is, my practice management, you can just go all practice management if you want to, if that's what you're looking for. But if you are in a bigger firm and practice management isn't a big part of your day-to-day practice, there's plenty of other ways to build the conference to suit what you're looking for. And you get to be involved with all the networking stuff. The social events are so fun. This year, we're trying a little different. I was talking with Erin earlier, and we were talking about the game night trivia that we're going to be trialing this year and see how that goes. So that should be fun to try something new and interesting. In the past, we've done bowling and of course the dine arounds that are a really fun way to sit down and strike up conversation, get to know someone, build your network, and a lot of great dine around options on both nights. So yeah, that's a great point. Not just for solo small firms, government attorneys, larger firms, mid-sized firms, something for everyone.
Absolutely.
You can really build your
and
own.
It's a great value because I know, kind of going back to solo smalls, you got budgetary concerns. You want to spend your money in the best way. I mean, you come to this conference, you can knock out your CLE for your entire reporting period if you needed to.
Absolutely.
And the other thing we haven't talked about yet with the conference is that we have a very robust vendor area. We have technology vendors. We've got people who do bespoke clothing come to this conference to kind of let people know what their products are for lawyers because it's hard to seek those things out. I mean, if you're looking for someone who's going to sort of give you technology things other than calling Brent, it takes a while to sit down and find those resources. You come to Solo Small Firm Conference, you can meet up with providers of legal research, practice management tools, all billing software, all of those kinds of things. And that I do want to mention that over the last couple years now, Wilmot, Wisconsin Lawyers Mutual Insurance Company, they have been a premium sponsor of the conference. They're there. They also always have a great booth. And they can provide you all kinds of information about the services and the products that they can offer. So that's the other thing. If you're just starting out and, Brent's there. So one of the things is you can come talk to Brent about, what kind of monitors and computers you should get. But it's a kind of a one-stop shop. You can shop for your malpractice insurance. You can shop for software, hardware, practice management systems. So that's another great thing about this conference is the really number of vendors who are there and who come every year. And, we see the same ones every year, kind of become friends with a lot of those folks. And they love this conference because they love having access to the lawyers. So that's another kind of good plus.
Yeah, absolutely. And in addition to the vendors you'll find in the Expo Center, you will also find the Solo Small Firm booth. and where there's always somebody from the section, usually from the board, I believe it is, that is there to answer questions. They have kind of like a lounge area you usually have set up just to kind of hang out in the middle of all the busyness of the expo hall.
Yeah, no, that is one of the pluses is you can get to know board members. We love to tell you about what our section does, and I can tell you about a couple of those other things that we do besides the conference. We always have great handy. You can show up. We usually do a raffle where we give away a couple prizes like most of the vendors do. And it's just, again, like Brent said, it's a great way to network and meet people. Because one of the things I think that's, again, sort of misleading about solo smalls, and maybe it does happen. I've never been a true solo. I'm with a small firm now, but I've worked at mid-sized firms and large firms, is that I think sometimes maybe solos do end up kind of being isolated and being siloed. And so one thing that not only the conference, but the section does as a whole is it gives practitioners the opportunity to have community, build community. I mean, we've all heard, the very cliched term of it takes a village, but guess what? It really does take a village to practice law. Even if you're just, the guy with the shingle and it's you and your assistant and your paralegal built in one in your office, you need that community. You need the network and you need the folks who do the same thing you do or who practice in the same environment you do to kind of help you out. One thing I like to say about our section is that, and this is unusual with other sections with the state bar, and I know many people are members of several sections, is that we're not practice-based. I call us logistics-based. But within that logistics space, our membership are people who are, general practitioners, family law practitioners, real estate practitioners, people like me who do financial matters. So, within our listserv, that's one of the benefits of our membership is that you become part of the listserv. It won't just be devoted to one area of law. I mean, people will have questions about real estate law, trusts and estates, sometimes bankruptcy questions crop up, general litigation. So it's a very robust listserv that covers a multitude of practice sections and also practice management sections. So that is that is another perk with the section is that we do have a listserv. We have a newsletter that we try to get out at least quarterly that lets folks know the things that our section does. And in addition to the conference, we sometimes like to try to partner with other sections to put on CLE. We haven't done it in a couple years, but the section sometimes will also put on certain CLE programs. I know one we've done in the past and that we are thinking of revisiting is a CLE on how to start your own law practice or transition to starting your own law practice or those kinds of things. That's been very popular in the past. And most of the time when we do these types of things, if you are a member of the section, there'll usually be a discounted rate for your tuition. So that's another nice perk of belonging to the section. And yeah, we really just provide a lot of resources to help out practitioners. Again, building the community, building the village, and giving practitioners resources, tools to be able to practice at the optimum level.
Yeah, that's all great. And it all is very helpful resources. And having been a true solo prior to coming to the bar, I think all of those resources are so important for a solo small firm. It's great to have a network of people who have kind of been there and done that you can ask questions of like, hey, I've been bouncing this idea off. Anybody tried this before? Like, am I crazy to try it? Did it work? Did it not work? Any of those types of things that, is just valuable information from your practice standpoint, but also a place to send clients that contact you that do handle it. Like, no, I don't handle this. And to be able to have someone in your network that be like, but I know who I can give a call and send you to. So I think that's very valuable because it is a very diverse, as you said, like a membership base of the board. Everybody has a very diverse background. And usually there's somebody in that virtual Rolodex then to be able to send a client onto.
Absolutely. It is great because, you've got somebody that comes in your office and you don't do wills, but you don't just want to send this person off into the ether. you got
Yeah.
resources, within the section membership because, somebody out there does estates and trusts and you can send them off to that person. So it is
Yeah.
really very valuable. And guess what? That comes back to you too. People
Yes,
know what you
exactly.
do. You're the wills guy and somebody else walks into
Exactly.
somebody else's office. There's a good chance that, if you've, been part of the community, you may get those referrals, which we know in the practice of law these days is so important to have those referral sources. The section can provide you with a foundation for that.
Yeah, definitely. So how does one get involved? What opportunities are there to get involved with the section?
Well, certainly the big thing obviously is the conference, which, most
Mhm.
people think conferences just kind of happen magically. They don't. It's like a year-round planning process, and Brent is also on the planning committee. He was former chair of the conference, and so he knows it's kind of a year-round thing. We are always looking for people who would love to speak at the conference on
Mhm.
various issues. We would love for people to be involved in planning. If you're already a member of the section, come hang out with us in the solo small firm section booth at the conference and tell people why you like belonging in the section. There's always opportunities to write for the newsletter. And the one thing that the section board also does is that every board member has to write a blog every month that gets published on the State Bar website. It's part of the solo small firm section blog. But if you are interested in writing one of those blogs, look up the board roster and get in touch with any of us if you want to do any of that, because guess what? A lot of us like to try and pass that on to somebody else. And it is not frowned upon. It's totally allowed. If you like writing articles, if you just had an interesting case that you want to talk about, get in
Mhm.
touch with us. We would love to have other folks, other members of the section, other practitioners write these blogs for us.
That's great. So I've heard that there may be a special opportunity to join the section. Is that true? What I've heard?
There is a special opportunity, and it's conjunction again with Wilmot. So Wilmot, for the past several months, and I believe this idea came about, I want to say earlier this year, while we were actually beginning planning the 2025 Solo Small Firm Conference. So there is a promotion in conjunction with Wilmot. If you are out shopping for malpractice insurance and, considering Wilmot, and you're a solo small firm practitioner and not yet a member of the section, if you do sign a contract with Wilmot to have them become your insurance provider, Wilmot will pay your tuition, or not your tuition, I'm sorry, your dues to join the solo small firm section for a year. And
That's awesome.
I spoke with Matt Beyer at Wilmot today, and Matt likes to joke and say, yeah, we're going to keep doing this until Wilmot goes broke.
Until the wheels fall off.
Yeah, until the wheels fall off, which we don't expect to happen. So that's really a fantastic opportunity. I mean, really, if you are looking for malpractice insurance or thinking
Mhm.
about switching, if you're thinking about joining the section, get in touch with me, get in touch with Brent. We will get you to the right person to kind of organize and coordinate all that for you. It's a terrific promotion. And since Wilmot actually started doing this, I believe we now have, I want to say, like Matt told me this morning, about 20 new members.
That's phenomenal. That's
Yeah,
great
so we're
news.
super excited about that. Really, like I said, I mean, with all the things that the section can do for members and getting your insurance through Wilmot, it's kind of a
Mhm.
win-win.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you so much for all that information. I'm really looking forward to the conference, looking forward to seeing you there and seeing kind of how it all comes together in the end. That's what's fun
Yes,
about being part of the
it's always
planning committee.
exactly. It is fun being on the planning committee because, when you show up there on that first day, you're like, oh God, what is going to
Yep,
happen? Are we going to have to
yep,
deal with weird stuff? And you know what? If the worst problem you got is you ran out of coffee in the first hour, it's all
yep,
good. So,
absolutely.
yeah,
Well,
no,
I
please, for anyone out there thinking about joining the section, it's really a terrific section. There's great people on the board. There are great members. Come to the conference and check us out and come find me in the booth and come talk to me. And then go listen to Brent talk about some fabulous things because he's speaking on about 3 panels at the conference.
I welcome the attendance, and I always look forward to speaking. This conference is always fun because you're able to mingle with your audience members so much after. And so there's always just great questions and discussions arising out of the presentation. And that's kind of fun to kind of continue the presentation
Yes,
beyond
absolutely.
the presentation.
I mean, I think just one more plug for the conference. There are so many fabulous social opportunities, like Brent said.
Yeah.
You went and listened to him talk. You have more questions for him. You can go have a beer with him at the cocktail party later.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's really great. And I really appreciate this opportunity because I can't say enough about this section. I mean, like I told you before we started, I could talk about the section all day. It's really a great thing, and we do fabulous things for our members.
I completely agree with that sentiment. And I thank you for coming on and sharing your information, ideas, and excitement about the section, about the conference. And once again, I look forward to seeing you there.
Yes, me too.
All right. Take care, Eliza.
Thanks, Brent.
Well, I hope you enjoyed learning a little bit about the Solo Small Firm General Practice section, as well as the Solo Small Firm Conference coming up in the Kalahari Resort in Wisconsin Dells, October 16th through 18th. I very much hope to see you there. If you attend, stop me, say hi, ask me some questions. Love to interact with everyone there and talk about everything related to Solo Small Firm. If you're interested in going and you need to register, go to www.wisbar.org. You'll see a big banner ad right on the homepage. Click on that. It'll take you to the Solo Small Firm Conference landing page where you can get more information and get registered. Hope to see you in the Dells.
Thank you for listening to the Practice Pulse. The views expressed by the participants of this program are of their own and do not necessarily represent the views of, nor are they endorsed by, the State Bar of Wisconsin. None of the content should be considered legal advice. As always, consult a lawyer.